I want to thank the ISSST for the opportunity to share this work. So I'm going to start with my presentation. And well, some of the contents that we're going to be looking today refers to the agri-food sector. So we're going to start just giving like a general context of what is the role of circular economy in this food system. And then I will comment about the work we did with the assessment study in Chile for the agri-food sector, and which are at the end the opportunities that we envisioned and we identified after this work, to end with the final recommendations that we were able to build after this assessment, and some reflections upon building solutions for the circular economy based on collaborative research. So this is like an overview of the presentation. So let's start by giving a little bit of a context. So we've been all participating these days in the ISSST, and we've been hearing a lot about interesting work and research about circular economy strategies. So just to give a little bit of a context of the food system and how we're going to find some circular economy actions within this particular industry, it's very important first to understand that the food system consists of many interconnected components. There are too many players that will have a specific role in this value chain, and at the end, the impact that the food system will create for the environment and for the economy and the society will depend on the interconnection and the coordination of these different players and stakeholders that go from the food supply chain, from producers, from processors and the distribution channels of the food, but also from the actions and the consumer behavior. So if today we think about what is one of the biggest and most important challenges that food system is facing today, definitely the achieving sustainability today is one of the primary goals. And while achieving a sustainability, we know that a food system will need to feed a growing population, and without using more land, because there is no more land, we have, you know, the system, the planet boundaries. But at the same time, the food system has a responsibility to be responsible with climate change and lower emissions, and at the same time create adaptation and mitigation strategies to respond to climate change challenges. So food system will need to continue to provide nutritious food by enhancing healthy and sustainable systems, promoting the efficient use of resources, and contributing positively to the impact to society and environment. So having said this and understanding the huge challenge that the food system today faces, we know that circular economy will play an important role. And kind of having some facts about what are the impacts of this global food system that will be addressed through the circular economy approach. I think these are very important data regarding the use of the land. So we know that today food system is using 50% of the habitable land in our planet. And also it's a sector that is responsible for a lot of greenhouse gas emissions. And we have a system that is not as efficient as we would want, because 30% of the food it's lost or wasted during the supply chain, according to the FAO data. And also we know that in order to produce food, there's a lot of materials and inputs required. For example, food production accounts for 70% of the water withdrawal in our planet. And finally, one of the environmental impacts that also relates with environment has to relates to the biodiversity loss and environmental pollution. So this is just like, a glimpse of what are the food environmental impact issues. So as I just mentioned, today circular economy provides a framework to achieve these sustainability goals within the food system. And as we have been learning during this ISSST, the circular economy is the opposite of the current prevailing model, the linear economy that is based on the take, make, use, and dispose. But most important is that for the agri-food sector, this logic of the linear economy is not sustainable in the future, because we know that this logic doesn't consider the material boundaries of the planet. We know that there's not too much plenty of inputs to take, like water, fertilizers, pesticides. Those are limited resources, and also there's not infinite space for disposal. So today we are talking about a system that will promote this closing the loops and creating cascades in order to make the most value of the resources. And of course, create less disposing of materials as waste. So circular economy brings an innovative and holistic approach to produce more with less, decoupling growth from resource consumption, and also creating added value by promoting synergic and interdisciplinary collaborations. So I think much of the people that has participated in this symposium are familiarized with this figure of the Ellen MacArthur Foundation, the butterfly understanding of the circular economy that separates our material flow in the biological and the technical cycles. So in the food system, we know that these two cycles are cascading, and now we're going to go and see some examples. But as I mentioned in the introduction, today I will be talking about the food system, but specifically in Chile, my country. So where we did this assessment. So I'm kind of connecting why is the food system or the food industry so important for Chile, and why making an effort in sustainability will really make an impact. Well, food is the second sector of the economy of our country. After copper, agriculture represents 25% of our exports. And we are renowned internationally because of our nutritious and delicious food. And actually, we have 75 million hectares of land that are in our country, and a lot of that is dedicated to food production. So having this general introduction, today I'm going to tell you about a recent work that we published with the collaboration and support of the Ministry of Agriculture in Chile. So this is a qualitative assessment that we performed. And so what was the goal? The Ministry of Agriculture, of course, is aware of all of these challenges that I mentioned before, and they want to promote the circular economy transition from the role of the public policy. So how can the public policy become like a supporter in this transition? So the main questions and elements that this qualitative assessment study consists is first understanding the current circular economy efforts, like what is being done today in Chile? What kind of efforts is the industry or the public sector already doing, and what is like kind of the starting point? And here there was the scope of this work was only for these 5 subsectors. So wine and viticulture, meat and dairy, the vegetables, fruit production, and grains. So we kind of make a screening of what are the initiatives that are happening today in Chile, but also we wanted to compare and learn from the international successful experiences. So we perform an international benchmark for public policies and regulations that provide a framework for Chile in the future. And then we work with the local players and stakeholders to identify motivations and the perception of the circular economy from their roles. And at the end, we systematize this, identifying the challenges and opportunities for circular economy, and also defining some final recommendations. So let me go now, tell you a little bit about the context of the circular economy as a strategic sustainability tool in Chile. For the industry, for the food system, improving resource efficiency has been a priority. And I think this is very important for you to understand why this approach will be so relevant. We have been experiencing severe droughts for the past decade. Also, for the Chilean sector, the international market demands for us to be more sustainable, and we have some certifications that are looking forward for that. And it's important to mention now that we're not starting from zero. There have been a lot of public and private efforts, and also the commitment of the public policy. For instance, today Chile is writing the circular economy roadmap that's going to be published in the 2020. And it will have ambitious goals for achieving these sustainability and circular economy for 2040. Also, the recent NDC emission reduction commitments. So we need to understand that the circular economy will be connected to all of these efforts. It's not an isolated thing. So just from the methodological part of this assessment, understand that we established at the beginning of this work an international and a national advisory boards. We built a stakeholder map to understand who are the players that are today leading some of these initiatives, and some demonstrative examples of the efforts in these 5 subsectors. Then we did secondary research of national and international initiative screening. We performed 26 in-person interviews and also 5 sectorial workshops for each of these sectors, to end with a discussion and the building of these final recommendations. So on the international benchmark side, these are the countries or the regions of the world that we look up for good examples, lessons, and approaches. And most importantly, we were looking for circular economy advocacy reports, countries that had already developed their roadmaps, bills or regulations that affect the agri-food sector and circularity, public policy programs, food sector initiatives, and also consumer and community initiatives. So first of all, I can say that there is a high-level consensus after looking up at all of these documents. We kind of understand that there is a consensus that circular economy is a strategic tool for sustainability. There's definitely a need to improve a common language and generate metrics for monitoring the efforts, and also the need for extension and communication tools to permeate the principles to all of the different players. So specifically for the agri-food sector, some of the lessons and like good practices that we were able to rescue from these countries. First, like reforms on the supply side by changing agricultural subsidies or generating economic incentives to highlight ways to reduce the use of chemical fertilizers. We saw that that was something that was happening in some countries like China and also the European Union. Also, there are huge and ambitious goals on the food loss waste prevention that was I could say most of the literature we found was on that side of the food loss and waste prevention. And one of the things that we rescue is the focus of some countries in specific nutrients and critical points of the value chain, like Netherlands, that is working specifically with the phosphorus, or California, that have identified that nitrogen is a nutrient that they need to circulate and to be more sustainable with. One of the, due to the amount of time, it's impossible to show all of the experiences, and I invite you to check the publication. But if I can rescue one of the experiences, I would say that Uruguay has a very relevant and virtuous example of private and public articulation, and this is a program named BioValor. And I think it's great about this program is that they are focusing research efforts for analyzing material flows in order to determine where are the system inefficiency, where are the loops to be closed, and then develop like science-based tools for the sector and also for the public policy. And they have developed some tools like, for example, the byproduct waste calculator, and also the geo reference platform, like an Uber for the agri-food waste. So this is just one of the examples that I think it's really a great inspiration for us in Chile to be looking for. So now if we go to our actual work here in Chile, we were able to screen around 230 initiatives that are happening in the agri-food sector. So we systematize these initiatives in regards to the type of initiative, the principle and the strategy of circularity that is related, the subsector, the sustainability developmental goals, SDG, the stage of the value chain, and also if the initiative is related to biological or technical cycle. So you can see here what was the framework of the stakeholders map and how we connected in the value chain, the different players and stakeholders. So in regards to this classification of the circular economy principles and strategies, we based on the work of the European Commission, the Ellen MacArthur Foundation, and the World Economic Forum to come up with these 3 principles. Design resource efficient system. The second one is make the most of food and cascade the resources. And the third has to do with preserve and improve the ecosystem's natural capital. So these are just some quick data about the findings and the results. So how the initiatives, the 220 initiatives in the different sectors. And regarding the type of initiatives, as you can see, most of the findings relate to company practices. So things that the industry is already doing in their operations. Then we also find some public and private efforts, industry research assessment, and R&D projects that are being led by research centers, universities. So that is all of the knowledge that it will be needed to come to practical solutions. Regarding the classification of these initiatives in the 3 circular economy principles I mentioned, we found that a good news is that all of the subsectors had representative initiatives in the 3 principles. However, principle number 2 related to make the most of the food and resources, and relating to the reuse, repair, remanufacture, revalue, recycle, and recover was the most common in all of the sectors. So then we have how initiatives were in the technical and the biological cycle. And in the stage, you will see that we focus the search and the work in the producer and the processing supply chain. But also we found some other initiatives regarding, retail consumption, waste management, and suppliers. So for the strategies, the most common was like revalorization and reduced inputs, as you can see here in the diagram in the left. So, okay, this is like kind of a lot of information, and I want to help you like understand that this effort of making a screening of 230 initiatives was like really a massive amount of information. And for us, it was really great to see how Chile is already stepped and it's already gaining traction in this circular economy transition. We found some incredible and worth showing initiatives from the different sectors that just show how circularity is starting to happen here in Chile. And I will mention some of these illustrative examples. For example, in the wine and viticulture, we saw an effort of the industry to make the lighter bottles in order to use less materials in their inputs. From the meat and dairy, there is a great program named Campo Limpio, like Clean Farm, to recycle the agrochemical packaging. And in the vegetable subsector, there are great food donation recovery programs, and also programs to connect the food loss and waste with composting, and regenerative solutions. In the fruit sector, there are some biological corridor as enhancing the natural capital efforts of the industry. And in the grains, we saw that there's from the producing, like in the farm stage, there are efforts of making being more efficient in the resource utilization. And as I mentioned before, water scarcity and drought is one of the major issues here in Chile. So this dry sowing reduces 30% of the water use. So this is a great example of resource efficiency. And also they are using the byproducts of the grains to produce pet food.
Olivia,
So
we have one question on this topic from Sandy. Is wine bottle breakage included in your model?
No, because most of the wine in Chile is exported. So we kind of focus in the actions that happened actually like in Chile. So the wine industry is responsible for the materials that they're going to use. And they, of course, they have some recycling initiatives, but they are not responsible of what happened when the bottles, are exported to other countries.
Okay, thank you.
So all of these examples that I mentioned here are efforts of the industry, okay? But I also want to mention that there's also some local public collaborative initiatives like the Chile-Canada program that is working with municipal and household residues for composting and anaerobic digestion initiatives. These are like demonstrative projects that are creating some momentum. And specifically, this program relates more to consumer and creating awareness for the circularity of the organic waste. So all of this just shares that this is a good starting point. And now we need to focus on what are the challenges and how are we going to help and promote these initiatives to be an inspiration for the rest of the sector, but also how are we going to create science-based tools in order to monitor and measure the progress as we look forward for a roadmap. One important thing that we were able to get by doing these 26 interviews is understanding what are the motivations of the food sector when they are engaging in these practices. Like, why are you doing this? And 75% of the people that we interview, and number one of the motivations is the economic drive. So they see that circular economy strategies are a way of cost reduction and also creating new business opportunities. Also, there were motivations such as culture or upcoming trends and regulations, strategies for positioning, and compliance with market demands. So after we gathered all of this data, we worked in these 5 workshops with the sectors in order to discuss and elaborate with the players of the industry what are the opportunities that they see. So here, this is like a systematization of the 5 workshops that we have and the most relevant opportunities that they themselves rescue from their perceptions. So I think number 1 is new business opportunities. So people in the sector think that there is an opportunity for added value byproducts and extraction and new solutions from the food loss waste. This is an example of an added value animal feed product from Chile, from the company Food for the Future, that is producing feed for fishes and for cattle, starting from agricultural and organic waste. So this is just an example of that new business opportunities that are already happening. Number 2, it will be the opportunity to promote resource efficiency in the farming and processing practices. And this is related to our wider water crisis situation in the country. And also, how can we be more efficient in the fertilizer use? How can we produce more with less? Yeah. And then in the 3rd point, there's the opportunity to regenerate natural systems with focus on soil health. So we are aware, specifically in Chile, that climate change is resulting in desertification. So most of our land is in risk of degradation. We need to focus on the regeneration of these natural systems. Number 4, the opportunity of promoting local and collaborative sustainability development. And I think this is not just in Chile, everywhere we see that circular economy is a great opportunity for that local initiative promotion. And at the end, last but not least, the players mention about the opportunity to leverage on innovative technologies for a new generation of packaging to achieve zero waste. And this picture is also a very innovative solution from Chile that creates packaging from the byproducts of rice production. So at the end, when we worked during these workshops, there is a feeling of a perception that there is a win-win situation. Like, okay, we have opportunities for our sector, but at the same time, we will be contributing to those initial sustainability challenges that I mentioned in the first slides. However, at the same time, while we capture the opportunities, we also understand which are the limitations and what would be the challenges and considerations that our country and public policy efforts has to have in mind while paving the route in this transition. And I think the key word here is coordination, okay? And we identify 6 main gaps. So they have to do with culture. How can we make some cultural changes and to harmonize the circular economy principles in the action, the real action of the people all along the value chain. Some institutional gap. Also, how can we create harmony between the public policy, the reforms, the regulation that will be aligned with the reality of the country? So from the public policy, from a top-down perspective. Then there is an information and technology gap. We need reliable data. We know that this is essential for the circular economy, and I think that ISSST have been very good at showing this importance. I'm talking about built a baseline quantitative data, evidence-based analysis tools like LCA, MCI for monitoring these initiatives. How are we going to measure the progress? And not just show good examples, but have some data after this. An educational gap, create awareness, and also develop qualified human capital. Regulatory policy gap, and a logistic and infrastructure, like, do we have the right logistics to make this transition? Where do we have to put our focus? So at the end, when we systematized the perception, the initiatives that are going on today in Chile, and the challenges that the players of the agri-food sector are telling us, we were able to systematize this, and with the help of the international and national advisory board, come up with a set of recommendations to support this transition. And there was a national food circular economy program proposed. But at the end, the most important here is there are 3 pillars in order to help this transition. First, the first pillar has to do with the technical and science-based action plans. So we proposed that this program has like 3 areas. And from the technical area, and considering the international benchmarks that we look up after as models, it's important to prioritize on a few areas that are critical to our circularity in the food system. Maybe just 2 or 3 at a top, specific working areas. And also relate this with goals, and goals that will be aligned with the existing country goals, such as the NDC. For these specific areas that are to be defined by the science and technical area, we have to develop a baseline data and understanding of what is the starting point from a methodological point of view. Also build collaboration with international networks and coordinate an action plan to achieve these goals. And in the action plan, we think that having demonstrative projects that will validate with evidence-based the circular economy solution, also extension efforts to facilitate the adoption of technology, and also making the circular economy knowledge more understandable to the common public. The second area has to do with education and circular economy awareness, and we saw some great examples. For example, in Portugal, they have an online platform named Economia, and this area will be responsible also for coordinating workshops, seminars, and educational campaigns. And from the regulatory and policy advocacy, it's crucial to have a coordination with policymakers and the industry, and identify what are the gaps of our current legislation. Where should we make the efforts to improving? And here at the left, here are some of the topics that we propose in the assessment that might be one of these priority specific areas: the food loss and waste valorization, soil health and environmental pollution, the water efficiency, and the plastic waste in agriculture. So, well, I want to end up mentioning some of the work that UC Davis, the University of California, Davis, is making in contribution to this transition. And it's worth mentioning this initiative that is a food loss waste collaborative. It was one of the international models or benchmark initiatives that we look after. And these are 2 of the researchers that are working in novel food waste recovery and recycling solutions, food loss and waste measurements, characterizations, a focus on the supply chain management, and also from consumer behavior and food recovery. So these are just examples of how science-based solutions are the baseline to start working and to promote the circularity in the food system. So I want to end up with this final slide about the institution that was responsible for this assessment study. So we are International Center of the University of California, located in Chile. As a research center, we are a bridge of collaboration with Chile and California. And we provide like a market and society technological solutions based on science through efforts in collaborative science, tech transfer, sorry for my English, and extension efforts. So well, I hope that was not a boring and too much information in this presentation. I want to end just thanking the amazing people that helped and collaborated in this work. We have our national advisory board, the international advisory board, where, well, Chiara was part of this, also Netzbank, Alyssa, and the TIER University of Applied Science of Germany. Our team, and of course, Ministry of Agriculture, ODEPA, that supported this initiative. So thank you so much for your time, for listening, and I hope that this work will be useful for our transition and